Today, I'm going to share with you the very most important plugins every WordPress website needs to have. Like, you have to install them at the very beginning, even before you do any other thing. And these are plugins that are essential. By the word essential, I'm not just coming out because it's a big word. They're plugins that you need. And when I mean that you need, it simply means that if you don't install those plugins, you would have issues later on. So that's what it means. So the first plugin I install on my website is security. So it depends on the plugin that you really like and you really love. So this is not really for me to say this is the best plugin. No, it's more like these are recommendations, but these are the categories of plugins. You must have at least one plugin on each area in your website. Is security. And that is, for me, I use WordFence. There are Sukuri security and other plugins out there that you could probably use. So with WordFence, what does it do? The funny thing is that people are actually using bots to brute force trying to get your password and hack your website. And what WordFence does is that it monitors the IP address, monitors all those things, and it helps to create a firewall and stop those attacks on your website. And it's very important because it's not going to be a funny thing if your website gets hacked, and because trying to recover it is going to be really, really stressful. It's one of those things you just don't want to do. And funny thing is that WordPress plugin is free, even though they have a pro plan, but I've been using the free plugin for like since ever. I've not even the thought of upgrading, as I've not really had the need to upgrade to the pro plan. The next plugin is the backup plugin. So I've talked about security plugin. The next thing is the backup plugin. So what the backup plugin is simply means that even though your host, they do backups of your website, you want to have a backup that you control. Of course, having your host backup is great, is awesome. They promised you backup. Nice, wonderful. And you could probably ask them for it, but you want to have your own backup that you fully control. That way, anything happens, whatever goes on, you're easily to go back to that backup and pull things in and, just refresh your site. It's as if you started from fresh. Nothing happens. If your website gets hacked and everything, you delete everything and then you reinstall the backup and everything is as brand new again. So the plugin I use for backup is Updraft Plus. There are other backup plugins. What you want to do is you want to search for backups plugins and then look at how many people are using it, when last it was updated. That's one of the key things you should be looking at in a plugin. So I use Updraft Plus. I connect it to my Dropbox account, so that way it's automated. I set it every week, every 2 weeks, depending on the frequency of your publishing. If you publish very frequently, you can put it maybe every week. But if you publish maybe like once or twice a week, or once every 2 weeks, you can publish it every 2 weeks. So that way it will do a backup of it and put it on your website. Yeah. The next plugin you should have, which is very essential, is a performance plugin. So there are different performance plugins out there. So essentially what a performance plugin does is it caches your website. So caching means it stores an easily accessible version of your website. That way it's easy for people to access. It doesn't take a long time for people to get to your website to load, and that way your website loads fast, which is a very good thing for your visitors, because they don't get frustrated and click out or back from your website. There are different plugins. There's W3 Total Cache, there's WP Rockets, there's different plugins out there. And under the performance plugin, another plugin I also put on my website is an image optimization plugin. The one I use is called Short Pixel. So there are different types out there. There's Smosh, there's other plugins. So what it does is that if I upload an image, it's going to reduce the size, without affecting the quality. And then that way, the images on my site are not very heavy and very big, such that they take a long time to load. The pages are light and everything is easy. So it's a performance plugin. There are different plugins out there you could probably use. But for me right now, my previous website, I use Ezoic caching, so I didn't install any cache plugin. Right now, I realized that when I created my website, Lightspeed Cache was pre-installed on my website. So for now, I have not really thought about deleting or removing anything from it, because I've not really had any pages, and there's really nothing that would my site be loading or not loading for. Like, it doesn't really matter. A lot of persons are not visiting my website yet. So I've not really talked about. The only thing I'm concerned right now is image optimization, so that when I upload media and all those things, it will optimize the image to make them fast loading and all that. Okay, so the next plugin is if you are into analytics and you really don't want to use let's say you want to use Google Analytics, but you also want to use another plugin, you could use independent analytics. But I won't really say that that's very, very important, you understand, because Google Analytics is free and you can use Google Analytics, which is great and awesome, wonderful. So the other plugin I use, which is very, very important for me, is if you're going to allow comments, people to comment on your website, the next thing you want to do is you want you want to reduce spam comments, because there are a lot of people that do just spam your website. And I don't even think it's coming from people. I think it's more like a bot. It just scrolls websites out there and comments on it. Stupid comments, some inappropriate comments, adult comments, and all those different things on your website. And the comments has nothing to do with your blog posting. When you read them, you know that this thing is absolute spam. This is not like maybe spam, it's absolute spam. So the plugin I use is Akismet. So once I install that, any plugin that it's detected that way, any comment that is detected that way, it goes into the spam folder, and then I go there once in a while and I empty it. I just scroll through and see if there's anything good. But most of the times I've seen that it's very accurate. If it's a good comment, it's usually not be taken to spam. So I just empty the spam. And then the next plugin I want to talk about, which is very important, is called Insert Header and Footer. Now they call their name WP code. There are different versions out there. So what this plugin simply does is that over the time of your website, you'll be adding codes to your header, your footer, and all that. And you don't really want to mess with the code on your WordPress theme. Now, if you're tech savvy, you know what you're doing and all that, you can look for the theme file and go add code there. But for me, I don't want to mess with my theme plugin. And peradventure, if you were to switch teams tomorrow, if you put the code in your team, what will happen is that everything will get broken. Because you switch teams, so you have to look for the new team and then try to install the new code and all that. But for me, I just use an insert header for that. So for like the Google Analytics, you wanted to install Google Analytics, you put it in your header, and that way I just copy the code and I put it there. All the codes I need to add to my website to verify, to connect it to software, to plug into every other thing out there, I just put it in the plugin. So the one I recommend use is WP Code, and their former name was Insert Header and Footer. There are other great plugins out there you can use. So basically that's the essential. So the essential I'll go over them is security, backup, performance, spam protection, and the insert header and footer. Now there are other versions of plugins depending on what your website is about. If your website is probably an e-commerce website, you probably need something like WooCommerce and all that. Right now I'm just talking about the essentials that you need to have. It doesn't really matter what your website is about, you need to have these plugins. Yeah, the other things, for me, as much as possible, I try not to use many plugins. So for something that I'm not going to be needing every time to be on my website, I try not to use the plugin. Take for example, like contact forms. One thing about contact forms is that I only have contact forms on my contact page, and I don't like to install a plugin for that. So what I use tally.so, TALLYSO. That's what I use. I create a form there and I embed it on my contact page, and I connect it to my email, so that when people send fill the form, I get an email sent to me, which is one thing I do. The other thing is for the analytics, I don't like to use an analytics plugin. I use Google Analytics. I connect it to the WP coder. And so once you notice that most of all these other plugins that you will need later on, some of them, they just need to verify and connect with your WordPress website. Then they have a plugin for that. Usually you can just copy a code and say you want to do it custom and manually, and copy a code and add it to WP coder. So that WP coder, why am I saying WP coder? WP code, insert header and footer. WP Coder is a different plugin entirely. So WP Code, that plugin will save you like a lot of plugins, like 5, 6, 7, 8 plugins. You won't have to install on your website by just having that plugin. So that's the plugins I've installed on my website, my 2 websites right now, 2 blogs right now. And the next thing I want to do is build the different pages and then connect for the 2 websites. I want to connect them to Ezoic and the other one Mediavine. So I want to make sure everything is set up so that I can connect it to these platforms, and then before a month or 2 I will get accepted and I can start showing ads on this website. Yeah, basically that's the plan. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you just reach out to me and I'll gladly answer your questions. And if you have anything you want to make about the video, let me know and I'll gladly make that video. Until next time, see you and keep blogging.